Alright, so I guess I gotta make a phone call to mccook non-emergency again.
mccook Public Safety Center.
Hello, my name is Sean Schwartz. I called last night and the night before. People in this town seem to be afraid of your police department.
How so?
Well, I've been posting everything on my YouTube channel. Nearly everybody that I've spoken with told me that you guys won't investigate anything. The gentleman who was going to go in with me yesterday for my safety so that I could actually turn in the crimes against me, at the last minute he decided that he was not able to do that. He told me that you guys were not going to investigate it, and we had I guess kind of an argument about it. The problem is that I've repeatedly had officers say that they were going to investigate if I came in, and then I came in, and instead of them investigating me, I was arrested on trumped up charges. So I've been trying to get someone to actually help me. There's supposed to be advocates that do that, but they're going out of their way not to do their jobs. And that's a very big issue for me because I am an at-risk adult. I've been given the number over and over again. I've got probably close to a dozen or more calls to, hold on a second, let me grab the information pamphlet that I have here, to the Legal Aid of Nebraska, and one of the people that I spoke with when I called mccook sent me to, here, I got it on a clipboard, let me grab it. It is the Nebraska Strong Family Hotline. Now, I called them more than once. The first time they told me to call Legal Aid, and give me a second, I have a screenshot of the other places that they wanted me to call on my computer, so I'll bring that up. Lisa Green and Angela Smith. Let me see. Alright, Legal Aid of Nebraska and Disability Rights Nebraska and Adult Protection and Safety. I've called all three of those repeatedly, and whenever I try to explain the situation, they want to continually redirect the conversation, to talk over me, to ask questions that are as far from my reality as they could possibly be. I've had to deal with a lot of abuse in the last 5 years, and it's all over slander. And that slander, because it was on the news, and it's not just in Colorado, it's nationwide, that slander has resulted in me being harmed nationwide. It's resulted in me not being able to go to my hometown of Chapel, Nebraska without people threatening and harassing and assaulting me. And with me trying to go to the sheriff's department there, it's too small of a county to have a police department, and so I'm supposed to get a hold of Nebraska State Patrol for them to investigate it, and Nebraska State Patrol just outright ignored me. Now, I've got evidence of threats and harassment and assaults, and I've also got evidence of Dual County Sheriff's Department assisting my predators in getting away with it. Now, there's also the fact that slander against me is people's motive for assaulting me, for not doing their jobs, for looking the other way. There's also the fact that so many people are afraid of the police, and that has a lot to do with the fact that most of the people killed by police every year are either homeless or disabled, and I happen to be both. I do have to have somebody with me in person. have severe PTSD from all of the trauma of being abused for the last 5 years, well, 6 years now, because this all started before Natalie was killed. Now, the guy that I was speaking with today, I recorded the conversation with him, or actually it was yesterday, recorded the conversation with him and posted it up. A lot of the issue is that the closer it gets to my court date, the more anxiety that I have. I've been trying to get an advocate to actually help me, and all of the numbers that I'm calling, these people keep giving me the same numbers over and over again that don't work. It's like none of these agencies know what any of the other agencies do, and all of the other agencies, all they do is send you on to someone else. Now, I've also got examples of these agencies that told me that it's not their job. I've got examples of them doing that exact thing that they said they couldn't do for other people. I've been trying to show this in person, but with all the people that I know in town afraid to talk to you guys and afraid that they'll be targeted by police as well, it's a very scary situation for me. Now, I have court tomorrow, because it's my computer says it's 2:18. I'm not sure if it's updated the time or not, because it says 2:18 and my phone says 3:18, well, 3:19 now. I'm not sure which one is correct, but I do know that I contacted Region 2 and I talked to Lisa Green, and she was going to, she was supposed to, she came highly recommended, if that makes any sense. But the fact is, I was trying to get help stopping the abuse before Natalie Bollinger was killed. And the slander that was all over the news and in web sleuth groups since Natalie Bollinger was killed has resulted in a lot of actual abuse, physical and otherwise, in real life. I've been repeatedly prevented from turning in the criminals who are doing these things to me and committing these crimes against me, and at this point I'm having severe difficulties in communicating. The more scared I am, the more those difficulties become prevalent, and I've called all the places that I'm told to call, and they all send me to other places. And one of the things with Lisa Green is that there's a woman who works for her named Veronica Bruce, and well, I don't know what her new last name is, but her maiden name is Bruce, and she was a friend of mine from Chapel. And I had a lady who was helping me in Chapel. Her name was Tamara. She worked through Region 1, and she had a son who was autistic, so she understood the situation with me. The problem is, after she quit her job, I didn't have anyone else who was able or capable or willing to even try to understand. And as a result, a lot of people threatened and harassed and assaulted me before Natalie Bollinger was killed. And since Natalie Bollinger was killed, all of these places and agencies have gone out of their way to ignore the situation, to mislead the situation, or to brush me off and talk over me. And these are supposed to be people who are trained to deal with somebody who's in crisis. Now, the first thing that you're supposed to do with someone in crisis is exactly what you're doing right now. What you're doing is listening. And the better somebody listens, the more I'm able to communicate, the more comfortable I am in communicating. Whereas these people who are supposed to be trained in this are doing exactly the opposite. They're talking over me. They're asking a question and then not allowing me to answer it, or they're asking questions that are misleading, and when I try to explain that to them, they tell me that they don't have time, or that they tell me that they have an overwhelming caseload and a lot of stuff like that, which in many of these situations I'm already aware of. That's part of the reason that people like me fall through the cracks. Nobody has time to do the job that they're paid for because they have too many people to deal with. And for me, trying to find somebody who's actually going to listen, obviously Lisa Green did not listen. She talked over me and wanted to ask questions that like, she wanted to know, wanted to make assumptions in her questioning and wanted to make statements that were untrue, and I had to stop her when she made those statements because they were untrue. Like when she said, well, you're staying with a friend in McCook. I said, no, I'm not staying with a friend in McCook. She's in low income. And then she wanted to ask some more questions after that I got completely flustered, and the next thing you know, I'm rambling 400 miles a minute, and that is not productive for either one of us. Meanwhile, the more flustered I got, the more she talked over me, the louder that she got, and she asked me 5 or 6 different questions in there that she didn't even allow me time to answer. She didn't even take a breath in between asking the question and then beginning to speak. Now, I was given the names Larry Kinney and Kevin Hodgson yesterday morning to go talk to. The problem is that the guy who was going to go in with me, he wasn't able to do so until yesterday afternoon. Well, yesterday afternoon when he showed up, he was telling me that you guys are not going to investigate. Chances are pretty good that if I go in that I'm going to be arrested. They'll trump up something because, I'm trying to turn in officers. He said that...
Who did you have stop by?
Do what?
What's the name of the person you had stop by?
His name is Jason. I just met him a few days ago.
Do you know his last name?
I do not. But his explanation of the situation was that if somebody goes in with me, it's not going to do any good and it's not going to make any difference. And the problem is that that's the only thing that makes a difference. That's why I'm supposed to have an advocate. I am disabled and I need to have an advocate. All of these places that I've been told to call, I've called repeatedly. I've called the ACLU. When you call the ACLU, they tell you that you have to do it across their website. I've tried it on their website. You don't get very many. It's called characters. When they say you can only type 2,000 characters, that means, numerals, letters, and spaces all count as a character. So you don't have very much time or very much space to type it all. Meanwhile, I need to be able to actually show evidence, but I never get that far. And with my communication disabilities and also my disabilities as far as computer goes, I'm stuck trying to do this on Facebook and YouTube, and it needs to be shown in court. And there's a few people who have tried to help me out and have been threatened and harassed and assaulted for trying to help me out, and there's a few people that have intentionally misled the situation, and without an advocate, it's easy to fluster me and easy to, especially after 5 years of this, it's easy to, how do I explain it best? Get my words to come out wrong, if that makes sense. For example, there's a lady named Mandy Singer and a lady named Mandy Hughes, and a lot of times when I'm talking about Mandy Singer, I end up saying Mandy Hughes instead, and the more flustered I am, the more likely I am to do that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Jason say who he talked to when he came yesterday?
He didn't go in yesterday. That's the thing, is that he told me at the last minute. At the last minute, he wanted to see if I could have the detectives meet me at the hotel lobby, and then there was a whole conversation that he and I had. I did post it on my YouTube channel. I'm scared to go to the police because of the situation with Natalie, and because one bad officer, all he's got to do is press false charges against you, and next thing you know, any officer that you encounter in the state of Nebraska is going to haul you in and you miss your court date. Does that make sense?
Well, not without a reason why.
Well, that's the thing about a bad officer, is that he doesn't need a reason why. The reason why they're committing the crimes is because they don't want to get in trouble. Before Natalie Bollinger was killed, I was being threatened, harassed, and stalked and assaulted, and no officer would do anything about it. I kept getting the, you need to just man up, or we have real police work to do, and I had gone to a lot of my friends like Missy Bruce, who works for Region 2, and a lot of other people that are supposed to be mandated reporters, and with my disabilities, I fall under the elder laws. The biggest issue with that is that I'm supposed to have an advocate by law, but I'm denied an advocate who's actually willing to do anything to actually advocate for me.
Sean, do you want me to have one of the detectives give you a call when they get in tomorrow? Or later today, I should say.
Yes, sir. Part of the issue also is that I have court tomorrow, and without an advocate, I'm going to get railroaded. The officers that I'm trying to turn in and the receptionist that works for them, I have court with them tomorrow, and they're trying to get a protection order against me and also try to claim that I violated a protection order, and tomorrow will be my only chance to actually show what's been going on. The problem is there's no way I'm going to be able to do that in just one day. Does that make sense? Now, they've illegally prevented me from going to court repeatedly. They pressed bogus charges on me last year in January, and then they dropped all the charges at the last minute. And the public pretender that I had to begin with was just outright going out of his way not to do his job. Then I got a public defender that was willing to do her job, and as soon as that happened, they dropped the charges.
I will leave a message for a detective to give you a call later today, okay?
Yes, sir.